Hey everyone, it is Bridgie from Bougie Texas Barbecue, and I have a good sized brisket. She's roughly around 13 pounds, and we're actually going to take this brisket apart. We are going to remove the point and the flat. I'm including me taking apart this brisket because not everyone can afford to buy a brisket all the time, and I turned this brisket into 3 different meals. Today we're going to make the brisket smash burgers. I also made burnt ends out of the point, and for the flat I made delicious smoked brisket birria tacos. I spent a little over $40 for this brisket, so that's less than $20 for the brisket only per meal. I'm not a butcher, but to remove the point from the flat you're just going to follow the fat in between both cuts. And your cuts don't have to be perfect. If you have any uneven pieces, save them. Make them into chop, or as we're doing today, we can grind them up and make them into burgers or sausage if you have that skill set. Now I did speed up the actual separation of the brisket because no one wants to watch 10 to 20 minutes of me separating a brisket. Unless you do, make sure if you want to see that, make sure you put it down below. But I'm just giving you the basics, and if you do this, please be careful with a sharp trimming knife. It will slice your finger off, and you already know what I'm gonna say. Don't throw the fat away, turn it into beef tallow. There's so many ways you can use beef tallow, and you're optimizing the full price of the brisket, and you're not losing any money. This is just my advice. I'm also going to show you different sides of the brisket while I'm trimming, so you can just get a general idea of how to separate it. But as you can see, I'm just guiding my knife through the fat, trying not to cut into the meat. We don't want any gashes into the meat, but just guide it, remove fat, and throw it into a disposable pan. Save it for later. We're going to freeze it. And while you're slicing into that fat, you're going to want to fold the brisket flat up and continue slicing into the brisket. And you will continue this process until you can basically see where the flat and the point start to separate. And again guys, I'm not a butcher, so that means you don't have to be a professional to do this at home. And we are almost there guys. Alright, they are officially separated. Now I'm just going to even them out. And this is how the flat looks all evened out. And the point. These are the trimmings we're going to use for our smash burgers, and the fat that I will turn into beef tallow later. So now I'm just going to take these inside and properly freeze them. This is the first grind we're going to do. Now I'm not a professional meat grinder, but I noticed when the meat is cold, it grinds a lot better. So let it chill in your freezer for like 30 minutes. Now this brisket chunk we're actually not going to grind, so we're going to set that to the side. Also, I know not everyone has like a meat grinder at home, but I found this online for under $100 and it works so good. And now we're just going to add our trimmings. Now I know the people who actually grind for a living are saying that that's too much fat. Just keep watching. I promise I'm going to even the fat out, but we're just going to do our first grind, and now we're going to get ready for our second grind. Grinding it at least twice and making sure the fat ratio is correct has everything to do with the texture when you bite into that burger. So these steps are important. Please do not skip. Now we're going to switch it to a finer grind. So I love that they just pop off really easily and pop back in. Make sure it's in there properly and sealed nice and tight, but not too tight where you can't unscrew it. Grab the last little pieces of trimmings and get ready for a second grind. So the actual grinding process for me only took about 15 minutes. And in this next step, we are going to even out the fat. So the brisket trimmings that I actually grinded were just a little over a pound, not including that big chunk of brisket on the side. We're gonna smoke that. We just have to finish our grind first. I added some extra lean ground chuck. Now you don't necessarily have to use chuck meat. You can use brisket from the flat, but because I had other plans for the brisket flat, that's why I did not use the brisket flat. But you can use steak, just any lean cut of beef will work well. Now you're gonna mix it very well, and a kind of way to see that your fat ratio is pretty much on point is that it shouldn't feel ooey, gooey, or slimy. It should feel somewhat firm, almost like dough, but not really like dough, if that makes sense. And it's gonna be sticky, but not to the point where it's sticking on your gloves, but the fat might stick on your gloves. If you handled ground beef before, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it should keep its form. All right, now we are going to want to cover this and let it cool in the fridge. Now this piece, I didn't want to cut it off, but I kind of had to cut it off the flat to even it out. So I was like, you know what? I can smoke this. So I'm going to season it up with some salt and pepper, and then I'm going to throw it in the Oklahoma Joe's Tahoma 900, 250 degrees for 4 to 5 hours. I'm guessing more for 5 hours, and let it rest. And then we have some beautiful chop. I got my fire started. I used post oak wood chips and some cherry wood chips along with some charcoal. You're only going to need maybe like 6 to 8 pounds of charcoal since it is sort of a baby cook. Just make sure it's set at 250 degrees. Of course, you have to watch the smoker. You can't completely walk away from it. But that's the great thing about the Oklahoma Joe's Tahoma 900, that it can pretty much babysit your cook while we tend to our smash burgers. Because in this next step, we're going to even out to make the perfect size smash burger. So smash burgers are anywhere in between 2 to 4 ounces of meat. 2 ounces if you like a crispier smash burger, 4 ounces if you like a heartier smash burger. I like something in between where it's kind of crispy around the edges, so I'm gonna do 3 ounces. And then we're gonna form them into tight little balls and continue until all the meat's gone. So overall, our grind came out to 12 balls. So that's gonna make 6 smash burgers if you're doing double meat smash burgers. So if you have a party coming up and you just want to do single smash burgers, that's 12 burgers. So that's a lot of money you saved versus buying a big pack of ground beef that's going to be over $20. And I promise guys, it will not taste as good. But I had a little patty left over. I'm probably going to give it to my dogs. But now that we're all done making our burgers, we are going to put them back into the bowl and we're going to let them chill in the fridge for a couple hours. Alright, it's been 5 hours and our little brisket chunk is officially probe tender. Allow it to rest properly before chopping, and now we can start our bacon jam. For the bacon jam and smash burgers, I'm going to use the Oklahoma Joe's portable grill, which is also known as the Rambler. Add 1 pound of bacon and make sure you preheat your skillet before you throw the bacon in there. You are going to want to render your bacon down till it's nice and crispy. And once all your bacon is rendered out, you're just going to set it to the side. Now, the amount of bacon grease you want to leave in your pan is 100% up to you. Add some yellow onions, some garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper. You can even add some chili flakes at the end. And then once all the onions and the garlic is rendered down, we can go ahead and add some brown sugar. Mix it well and allow it to caramelize for a few minutes. Next, we're going to add a little bit of apple cider, some maple syrup, and of course, we're adding some bourbon. Don't worry, my full ingredient list will be down below. Give it a good stir and allow it to cook at a low heat. Now we're going to preheat our skillet for our smash burgers. It's been a while since I made smash burgers, so I'm really excited for this, guys. We can add some onions, completely optional, and then we're going to add our little 3-ounce balls. Now I'm smashing them with the actual burger smasher and some wax paper. And you're going to want to put some good pressure down to get them smashed, but like I said, it's been a while and I failed the first batch. But that's okay. Round 2. My bacon jam was done, so I set it to the side, and you're going to let it cool before you throw your bacon in. Back to the burgers, guys. I smashed the out of these burgers. Literally two-handed. Don't forget to season with some salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. That's all you need. Five to 7 minutes on each side or until you reach your desired crispiness. Add your favorite cheese. My kids prefer American. And just let her melt. This looks and smells so good. Alright, one more visual of me smashing the shit out of these burgers. a quick zoom in to the cheese porn. And now we can start building our burgers. Okay, first up, the brisket burger. We're gonna add our smashed patties and we're gonna top it with that chopped brisket we made earlier. And smother it in bacon jam. And I mean smother it, guys. And top it with a toasted buttery bun. Now take a look. Can that get any better? But we can also keep it classic. Some lettuce, pickles, tomatoes, our double brisket patty, and smother it again with that bourbon bacon jam. Well, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Don't forget to try this recipe out and let me know how it is. Let me know which burger you're smashing. Till next time, guys.